जय श्री महाविष्णु गोस्वामी गुरुदेव की जय। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी,
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 जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी, जय गिरिवरधारी,
जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी, जय गिरिवरधारी,
जय यशोदनन्दना जय व्रज जनरञ्जना,
जय यशोदनन्दना जय
जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्ज बिहारी,
जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी,
जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्ज बिहारी,
जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी,
जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्ज बिहारी,
जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी,
जय श्री श्री राधा नील माधव की जय, श्री कृष्ण बलराम जी की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रमयी की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील महाविष्णु गोस्वामी गुरुदेव की अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की निताय गौर प्रेम। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय,
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 ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
So Hare Krishna. Let us read today from Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 19, text 33. Sutta uvacha
सुत उवाच
iti kausharavakhyatam
इति कौशालवाक्याताम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथा
आश्रित्य भगवत्कथा
शक्तानन्द शतानन्दं परं लेभे
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
महाभागवतो द्विज
महाभागवतो द्विज
सूत उवाच
सूत उवाच
इति कौशारवाक्याताम्
इति कौशारवाक्याताम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम्
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
महाभागवतो द्विज
महाभागवतो द्विज
सूत उवाच
सूत उवाच
इति कौशारवाक्याताम्
इति कौशारवाक्याताम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम्
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
महाभागवतो द्विज
महाभागवतो द्विज
Anyone likes to chant?
सूत उवाच
सूत उवाच
इति कौशारवाक्याताम्
इति कौशारवाक्याताम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम्
आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम्
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
शतानन्दं परं लेभे
महाभागवतो द्विज
महाभागवतो द्विज सूत उवाच इति कौशारवाक्याताम् आश्रुत्य भगवत्कथाम् शतानन्दं परं लेभे
महाभागवतो द्विज
सूतः
सूतः
Suta Goswami
सूतगोस्वामी
Uvacha said iti thus Kausharava from Maitreya son of Pusharu Akyatam told Ashrutya having heard Bhagavad Katham the narration about the Lord Shatta Vidura Anandam bliss Param transcendental Lebhe achieved Mahabhagavata the great devotee Dvija O Brahmana Shaunaka. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please repeat the translation. Sri Suta Goswami continued. My dear Brahmana, Shatta, Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kausharava, Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Let's hear the purport. If anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source, as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. And one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. This is clearly explained here. If one wants to have transcendental pleasure, he must find a person with authority. It is also stated in the Bhagavatam that simply by hearing from an authoritative source with the ear and the heart, one can relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. Sanatana Goswami therefore has especially warned that one should not hear anything about the personality of the Lord from the lips of a non-devotee. Non-devotees are considered to be like serpents. As milk is poisoned by a serpent's touch, so, although the narration of the pastimes of the Lord is as pure as milk, when administered by serpent-like non-devotees, it becomes poisonous. Not only does it have no effect in transcendental pleasure, but it is dangerous also. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned that no description of the pastimes of the Lord should be heard from the Mayavada or impersonally schooled. He has clearly said, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Haya Sarvanasha. If anyone hears the Mayavadi's interpretation of the pastimes of the Lord or their interpretation of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature, then he is doomed. Once one is associated with impersonalists, he can never understand the personal feature of the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. Suta Goswami was speaking to the sages headed by Shaunaka, and therefore he addressed them in this verse as Dvija, twice born. The sages assembled in Naimisharanya, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami, were all Brahmanas. But to acquire the qualifications of Brahmana is not everything. Merely to be twice born is not perfection. Perfection is attained when one hears the pastimes and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. It's very nice purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swatadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Harive Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaure Tushe Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse has a nice background to it. Maitreya heard the killing of Hiranyaksha from his spiritual master. And after hearing it from his spiritual master, Bhagavatam tells us that he was approached by Vidura. And then Vidura was hearing from Maitreya. The verse before this, Prabhupada writes very nicely this point. Maitreya gave this knowledge and pastime of Hiranyaksha as a straight narration. This is the two words that Prabhupada uses. In other words, the pastime of Hiranyaksha, there was no change in the way Maitreya presented it as the same way his spiritual master presented it. Prabhupada says it was a straight narration. Therefore, there was no manufacturing and there was no interpretation. This is a very important point. If we want to succeed in spiritual life, Bhagavatam is very clear that we have to accept the system of parampara. Parampara means no adding, no subtracting, no division, no multiplication. Whatever we hear from our spiritual master, we repeat it. According to time, place and circumstances, we may have to present the philosophy in that way. But the essence of the philosophy is straight narration. And there is no interpretation. This is a very important point. Any statement made by an acharya, Bhagavatam tells us, cannot be valid unless and until it is realized by the bona fide process of hearing. So actually anything that an acharya states, if we want to accept it, we have to hear it in a bona fide manner. In other words, we have to submit to the acharya. It is not that we hear from an acharya and we don't follow his instructions. Hearing from acharya means automatically that we have to follow his instructions. It is not that I take from this acharya, I take from that acharya, and then I put it together, I become acharya. That is not bona fide. Bona fide means we hear from one spiritual master and then we repeat the same thing to the next person. So Maitreya's perfection was that he gave the straight narration, and Vidura's perfection was that he heard in total everything that Maitreya said and he accepted it. Prabhupada writes in the purport, through the year but more importantly through the heart. This is how knowledge is received. Knowledge from Bhagavatam is not technical knowledge. It is not meant to use as a sword. It is not meant to use to manipulate people. It is not meant to derive power. Knowledge, which is transcendental in this verse, is meant to give you transcendental pleasure. That's why the word transcendental pleasure is given. We all come to Krishna consciousness because ultimately we want bliss. We want happiness. And here in this verse, so nicely it is stated that actually the great devotee of the Lord achieved transcendental bliss. Vidura became transcendently blissful because he heard the pastimes of the Lord from the authoritative source. And when he heard it, he became very pleased. So this is important. So Maitreya was authoritative and Vidura was considered authoritative. But you must understand that Vidura was not an ordinary personality. Even though in Mahabharata he was insulted as Dasiputra, actually he is Yamaraj. Bhagavatam tells us that Yamaraj wanted to hear Bhagavatam and he wanted to spend some time hearing the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. I think he got tired, of his duties as Yamaraj. So by Krishna's arrangement, he comes as Vidura. And while he is Vidura here, he is actually a Mahajan. That's why here he is known as Mahabhagavat. Mahabhagavat is non-different from Mahajan. So Vidura's background, Bhagavatam tells us, is that he is a very great and exalted personality. So if he is such an exalted personality, and he can accept what Maitreya says, then what qualification we have? Except to accept. There is no other qualification we have except to accept. This is important point. So Vidura, he left the palace. But Bhagavatam tells us he left the palace because of insult from Duryodhana. And because Duryodhana also said that he should be left, he should leave, and he should leave in such a way that we should beat him until only breath is left. This is also in the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter. When Vidura heard that, Bhagavatam tells us, he put his bow and arrow down at the entrance of the doorstep. He felt afflicted by the painful words of Duryodhana. He also felt very pain, Bhagavatam tells us, because his own brother Dhritarashtra did not say anything. Dhritarashtra, by not saying everything, was actually saying everything. Because by not saying anything to stop Duryodhana, what he was actually saying is actually I agree. Silence in law means consent. In law we say, if you are silent, that means you agree. If you are not silent, that means you speak. Isn't it? So Dhritarashtra was silent because he agreed. He wanted Vidura out. So this is very painful to a devotee because devotee's nature is compassionate. We are always compassionate by nature. We must be compassionate by nature. But Bhagavatam tells us there is a difference between being afflicted by the hurt and being sorry for your situation. This is a very practical point Maharaj brought up so many times. Being afflicted. Being afflicted by the pain and the hurt is different from feeling sorry for yourself. Sometimes devotees feel hurt that someone speaks to us that way. But that is alright. But very often we make the mistake after becoming hurt, we start feeling very sorry for ourselves. We feel, oh, I'm such a great person, but people are treating me like this. That means I'm feeling very sorry. Oh, it's okay, Devki, these people don't understand your greatness. But one day they will understand. This feeling sorry for yourself is actually destruction. It will destroy us. Because Maharaj said this feeling sorry for yourself is the manifestation of your false ego. It is your false ego. We should never feel sorry for ourselves because Maharaj said if you feel sorry for yourself, that means you have no faith in Krishna. Why should we feel sorry for ourselves? Whatever that is coming from Guru and coming from Krishna. It is meant for us. So Vidura he was not sorry for this because he saw the hand of Krishna. He saw this whole matter as the external energy and manifestation of the Lord. Just like yesterday we were speaking about Krishna and Aghasur, and you remember when Krishna saw the size of Aghasur, Prabhupada writes that even he was very amazed by his own external energy. Because he was thinking, my God, this is my creation, so nice. Sometimes even demons look at Krishna and they are amazed by Krishna. When Krishna jumped into Yamuna and Kaliya was in the river, when Kaliya came out very angry, thinking, who has disturbed Yamuna? And he saw Krishna, and he saw the beauty of Krishna. Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, for one moment Kaliya was thinking, what a beautiful boy. He looks very nice, Like, I can't take it, but he looks very nice. Some people say, I don't like you, but you are a good devotee. Like that, They can't take it. Like many people could not take it, They said so many things about Guru Maharaj, but they could not take it. They had to say, oh, but Maharaj is Mahabhagavat. Because he knows Bhagavatam. Nobody can challenge him on Bhagavatam. So we are not sorry for what happens to us. We are not sorry. Because everything is the hand of Krishna. Nothing in this world is outside of Krishna. So why is it when difficulties come, we blame others? We should blame Krishna. Mahasi, you have to fight, you fight with Krishna. Don't fight with President. You fight with Krishna. Because Krishna is giving you this. But everything we blame on Vaishnava. And this is our fault. Why? Because in our heart we are sorry for ourselves. We are sorry for ourselves. So this is very important point. That is the qualification of Vidura. He was such an exalted personality. But even an exalted personality will not become blissful and not become happy until he hears the pastimes of the Lord from an authority. So we have to understand where we are, Prabhus and Matajis. We are less than dust. How can we understand Krishna without becoming submissive to Guru? This is the very important purport of this verse. How can we get transcendental happiness, bliss and pleasure until and unless we submit to the authority of Guru? Vidura became blissful and pleased because he submitted. So no matter how advanced we are, Bhagavatam tells us that without receiving transcendental knowledge by surrendering, one cannot become happy. This is very important point. Sometimes in Bhagavatam, Maharaj told us the word advancement in devotional service is made. Very often we hear that without surrendering to spiritual master, we cannot make advancement in devotional service, isn't it? So what is the meaning of advancement in devotional service? Maharaj asked us, how do we test that we are advancing in devotional service? There must be a test. The test is actually found in this verse. The test is, those who are making advancement in devotional service, they are more surrendered. They are completely surrendered. That is first test. The second test is, those who are making advancement in devotional service, they are always blissful and pleasurable because they are always hearing the pastimes of the Lord from bona fide source and from their Guru. This is important. So if you want to know whether you are making advancement in devotional service, Maharaj made it very simple. Are you smiling every day or are you complaining every day? If every day you're complaining, every day Mangalarti, I have to wake up again for Mangalarti, then there is no advancement. How can there be pleasure if you're complaining all the time? Oh Prabhu, he is not cooperating with me, she is looking at me funny, this person is doing that. There is no advancement because we are blaming everybody, but we are not looking to ourselves. Pleasure is from within, Prabhus and Matajis. You cannot get pleasure from your husband. You definitely cannot get pleasure from your wife. You can't get pleasure from your children. You cannot get pleasure from properties. You cannot get pleasure until you are surrendered to Guru, who is surrendered to Krishna. This is the meaning of advancement in devotional service. That's why we cannot take this point for granted. So that's why Maharaj asked the next question. How do you make advancement in devotional service? How to achieve this transcendental pleasure? And this science is found in 12:48 of Srimad. You can chant with me. Sankirtyamano Bhagavan Anantaha Srutanubhavo Vyasanam hi pumsaha Pravishya chittam Vidunoti ashesham Yatha tamo arpo Abramivati vataha. When people properly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is the translation. When people properly, Maharaj said the word proper means after hearing from Guru, then you please glorify. On your own, the glorification has no value. Krishna sees who is recommending this fellow. No recommendation, don't come. But if you're recommended, immediately you walk in. This is the key. Those who properly means you hear from Guru and then you repeat. Don't concoct and speak, but hear, and after hearing you repeat. So when people properly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or if they simply hear about His power, and the word Maharaj like is simply. Simply hearing about Krishna's power means be simple. Don't complicate. Just hear Bhagavatam and repeat Bhagavatam. That's all. So if you properly glorify Krishna, or you hear about the power of Krishna. Yesterday we heard about Aghasur. That is Krishna's power. If we simply hear or we properly glorify Him, then what happens? Pravishya Chittam Vidunoti Ashesham. Pravishya means Krishna personally enters. He enters into the heart. Again, it is the heart. A Pravishya means it is through the ear. So He enters through the ear and He ends up in the heart. In this purport also you will find, Prabhupada writes that we have to hear about Krishna through the ear and receive Him in the heart. So whatever that you hear, if it comes out, then there's no point. But what we hear has to end up in the heart. So same point in 12:12:48. Those who properly glorify Krishna simply hear about His pastimes or His power. Krishna personally enters into their heart, and what does He do? Vidunoti. He personally cleanses away every trace of misfortune. This is so nice. Maharaj said misfortune means that you have forgotten who you are and you have forgotten who Krishna is. Very simple. That is misfortune. Misfortune means you don't know who you are. That is great misfortune. And greater misfortune is you don't know who Krishna is. And for us, the greatest misfortune actually is we don't know the greatness of Guru. Those who don't know the greatness of Guru, that is our greatest misfortune. And those who don't know the value of Sadhu Sangha, that is even the greater misfortune. So these four things together, they constitute misfortune. Sometimes people think, what is misfortune? It's very simple. It's these four things. And the last two are very important. We should never take for granted this Sadhu Sangha. Always we must hanker for Sadhu Sangha. Coming and just looking at Radha Nila Madhav and walking away, in the 3rd canto, in the 29th chapter, under explanation of devotional service, very nicely, Kapila Muni tells Devahuti Mata, Kapila Dev tells Devahuti Mata, that those who come to worship me in the form of deity in my temple, but who do not serve the devotees by not seeing me in their hearts, then their worship is simply imitation. Imitation. It is like pouring ash into fire sacrifice. You read, it is in the verses there. It's very clear. That's why Maharaj hated that ISKCON or our temple should never be, come take darshan, Haribol, walk away. No. Prabhupada created this society for Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha. And those who think I am greater than these sadhus, I don't need their Sangha, then it is imitation. It is imitation. Otherwise, why Vidura left the palace and instead of sitting down and remembering Krishna, what did he do? He went for yatra. But Maharaj said, why did he go for yatra? To get Sadhu Sangha. Not because I want to go for yatra, just go around, see the place, ha hoo and finish. No. He went there and he found one sadhu. First he sat down with Uddhava and he said, Uddhava, you please give me now some Krishna Katha. But Uddhava said, hey, Maitreya is very close by and he's so much older to me. He can be the age of my Guru. So I cannot give you anything because there is Maryada Vratikrama. I am not in the position higher than him. Even though Prabhupada writes Uddhava is as advanced, if not more advanced, still he said, no, you go to Maitreya and you sit down. Because Vidura was asking for Sadhu Sangha, Krishna was directing him in the heart to find the sadhu and find the Sangha. So if you come to Radha Nila Madhav Dham and say, I don't want devotees, only Radha Nila Madhav, then take darshan and go home. But where is the transcendental pleasure? Transcendental pleasure is to sit down like this, to sit with devotees, to talk about Bhagavatam, to hear about Bhagavatam under the soothing shelter of Maharaj. That is Sadhu Sangha. So that's why Vidura is showing us why we should have Guru, why we should search out for the Guru. That is why Sankirtya Mano, we have to always glorify Krishna. But we glorify Him not in our own concocted way. That is why this verse is very important. Krishna enters the heart and He cleanses our heart of the trace of misfortune. Just like the sun can clear the clouds, and just like the wind can drive away all the dust. But Maharaj pointed one important point. In 12.12.48, if you read carefully, Krishna cleanses the heart and He takes away whatever that is considered to be misfortune. But there is no mention of transcendental pleasure. There is no mention of transcendental pleasure. Why? Because one other very important point is important. Maharaj said, if you want transcendental pleasure, then you have to glorify Krishna. But it has to be under parampara. Then there is transcendental pleasure. This is a very important point. Otherwise, in 12.12.48, transcendental pleasure would have been put there by Shukadeva Goswami. But he says Krishna cleanses the heart of misfortune. But after cleansing the heart, where is the pleasure? The pleasure comes in 10.1.4 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nivritta tarshay upagiyamana bhava shudachotra manobhirama ka uttama shloka gunanuvada puman virajeta vinapasukna. This verse was very, very important. 12.12.48 of Bhagavatam must be read with 10.1.4. Because 10.1.4 tells us that glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. So if we want to glorify Krishna, then we have to follow the discipleship, the parampara. And Prabhupada translates the verse, such glorification is relished by those who are no longer interested in false, temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. This is the evidence. In other words, you will learn to relish Bhagavatam if you are in parampara. And Maharaj said, if you are no longer interested in glorifying everything else except Krishna. Our problem in this world is, even when we become devotees, we want people to glorify us. We want puja, we want pratishtaha, we want all this to us. We feel that the only reason why I am in the temple is because people must be praising me. Some brahmacharis say that I have lost taste for temple life because nobody is praising me now. What is the point now? Now I am just another person. Where is my value? Where is my meaning? Maharaj said, you are not supposed to have value. Maharaj said, man, humility means you have no value. You only have value because you are zero. You only have value if Krishna is there. If Guru is there, then you have value. But when we come, Maharaj said nicely this point, Maharaj said, have you all heard of the word entitlement? How to describe entitlement in Hindi or Gujarati? Entitlement. That means I come to temple, this is my list. If I have all this, I am blissful. If I don't have this, I am not blissful. Haribol, I leave the temple.
Do that, do that.
Like entitlement, Like when you go for job interview, the interviewer will tell you, okay, this is your salary, all that. Then what do? You have to say, no, what are my benefits? What are my entitlements? I need all these things, You don't have all this, I'm not in the temple. So Maharaj said, we are a generation who are only doing devotional service because of entitlement. This is why Kali Yuga is progressing. Maharaj said, when Prabhupada's disciples surrendered to Prabhupada, no entitlement. This is their credit. Maharaj said that you can criticize whatever you want. You cannot compare yourself to those who surrendered to Prabhupada. I was now, in the meetings, and the Grahasthas were telling me, Prabhupada's disciples, this lady was telling me that she had 4 children in the Grahastha ashram. And Grahastha ashram means one small building, one small room behind temple. Prabhupada told them to rent, and 4 couples stayed in that house, in the room. So where is their room? Prabhupada said, you put 4 curtains. So behind this curtain is your family life, behind this curtain your Grahastha life, behind that curtain your Grahastha ashram. That's all. You have children, you raise children, you take care of children. So there is no privacy. So if the child cries in this side, all the other Grahastha's children will cry also. Children, one cry, everyone cries, isn't it? So if she did not control her child, all the children will cry. They had no life. No Grahastha ashram. No. We are now looking for, I want privacy with my wife. I should have my own place. I should have my own time. They laugh at us, Maharaj said. They laugh at us because they gave up everything to be with bona fide Guru. They follow parampara. Everything they gave up. They gave up everything. So that's why Maharaj said, the reason why we don't feel transcendental pleasure, and why if you ask them, they had nothing but they had so much pleasure, is they will tell you that they were not asking anything from Prabhupada. They just said, Prabhupada is pure devotee, I am surrendered to him. If he asks me to die, I will die. That's all. It's very simple for them. Very simple for them. So if Prabhupada told the lady's husband, you have to go now to another temple and start the temple, but you stay here, Mata. She stayed. She took care of 4 children for 2 years. And he was in another state. In today's world, we can't. To go Dwarka already we are complaining because my wife is here and I am in Dwarka. But Maharaj said for 2-3 years they stayed away from each other. Because, as Bhagavatam said, they no longer were interested in the sense gratification. That's why Prabhu and Matajis don't make Krishna consciousness another form of sense gratification. Don't. We cannot discuss this in public. Public will run away. But we are devotees now. We have to be naked about this. Don't come to Krishna consciousness because I want something material. Then you will get pleasure, but it is not transcendental. If you want to come to Krishna consciousness, be prepared to sacrifice everything so that you will get pleasure. And this is transcendental. This is meaning of 10.1.4. And 10.1.4 ends by saying, anytime we describe the pastimes of the Lord, they are bhava aushauda. Bhava aushada. Aushada means medicine. They are the only medicine to stop the repeated birth and death. Maharaj always told us the correct medicine for all our problems is devotion service. And Bhagavatam ends here by saying, only the person who is a butcher or someone who wants to kill his own self commits spiritual suicide. Commit suicide, never mind, you take your body, it's okay. But if you want to commit spiritual suicide, then don't come into parampara. If you want to commit spiritual suicide, don't hear Guru. If you want to commit spiritual suicide, you add, subtract, multiply, divide, whatever you want. That is spiritual suicide. So those who want pleasure, they will follow Guru 100%. This is the important point. So submission and service is the way to receive transcendental knowledge. That's why these 2 words are very important. Otherwise, Prabhupada gave one story, that because we want so much sense gratification, ultimately we use the Guru and we finish the Guru also. Prabhupada told one story one time. He said that disciples, they accepted one man as Guru. After accepting the person as Guru, then one day, they came to him and said that we heard from the people that if we really, really want to always be with you, we have to eat you. We have to eat you. If we eat the Guru, then Guru is always with us. This is the best way for us to be with Guru. This is a Bengali saying, Prabhupada said. So, this is how we cheat also. In the name of being good disciple, we kill our spiritual masters. We kill our spiritual masters. In other words, we don't have to kill him, but we don't accept his teachings. Maharaj told me one time, if you don't accept what I say, it is as good as killing me. It's as good as killing me if you don't accept what I say. After promising before fire, actually I never said before fire, but Maharaj said, after promising before fire that you will obey me, and if you don't obey me, then it's as good as killing me. It's as good as killing me. And this is what Prabhupada meant when he told this old Bengali proverb. That the disciples become so smart that they come to Guru and tell Guru that best way to worship you is, if we eat you, you're always in us. So we will eat you now. This is how they get rid of Guru. So Prabhupada said that the best way is to hear. That is why we hear in Parampara. That's why Prabhupada said here, Asat Sangha is never good. Because we will hear and we will offend. The impersonalist never accepts the personal form of Krishna. And impersonalist doesn't mean only Mayavadi outside. Many times Maharaj said, we are also hidden Mayavadis. We're all Mayavadis in one way. Because we come to Krishna consciousness, but we are very impersonal in our dealings. We don't lovingly take care of each other, don't lovingly serve each other. Then we become Mayavadis. Because we don't have faith that Radha Nila Madhav is here. We think Maharaj is dead, only body is here. So I can do whatever I want. It's alright, doesn't matter. Whenever we didn't used to come for Mangala Aarti, and when Maharaj was here, do you remember how scared we will be? Whatever happens, we will turn up for Mangala Aarti. Now, if we don't turn up for Mangala Aarti, it's okay. Because we know, hey, Maharaj is not there, he's not sitting there. He's only here. You think carefully about this point. You think carefully. If Maharaj was physically this morning there, how fast we will run down to make sure we are there before him. Last time we used to see, isn't it? Maharaj is coming already. Quickly we have to come down. But today we don't see him walking. But doesn't mean he's not here. But even then we tell ourselves, I'm too tired, I can't come now. I had late nights, so I can't come now. If Maharaj was here, would we do the same thing? If you are doing the same thing, then I have nothing to say. That means when Maharaj was here, we were fallen. After Maharaj also, we are fallen. Before we were one thing, but now we have faith that Guru is not here. This is killing Guru. This means we don't want to hear. That is why, even though so many years of chanting and reading, there is no transcendental bliss. We have to force ourselves to take the beat back, force ourselves to sit down, force ourselves to chant the mantra. There is no bliss. We do whatever we want. And after doing it, then we say, I'm very sorry. I promise I won't do it again. And then we do it again. Because we are not hearing. We are not hearing. So that is why this is very important. If you want to know how to hear, Maharaj said we should just remember the purport to 112. Dharma projita kaitava atra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastava atra vastu shivadam tapatrayam moolanam Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Krite Kimma Paraishvaraha Sadyo Hridi Avaruddhate Atta Kritivihi Shushrosho Tachana Shushrosho. Prabhupada in the purport of 112, he says very nicely, the proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. If we are challenging with ego, we cannot relish Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada ends by saying, the word Shushroshoho is very important. It means you must be anxious to hear. When can we sit down to hear Bhagavatam? When can we sit down and have sadhu sangha? The same thing is stated in 285 of Bhagavatam. Shranavata Shraddhaya Nityam. Shranavata means to hear. Shraddhaya means with earnestness. The word to word says with earnestness. Earnestness means with eagerness. Eagerness means with enthusiasm. Enthusiasm means with sincerity. So to desire, the desire to hear is the first qualification. That is the most important. So please, Prabhus, Matajis, the point that is being stated here is extremely significant. We have to be in parampara. And anyone can become an authority, Prabhupada writes here, if you simply present without deviation. This is the same point that Prabhupada said that anyone can be a pure devotee as long as you follow 10% what the Guru is saying. In one lecture, in one letter or conversation, Prabhupada gives a very good point. Someone asked him that how to become pure devotee. And Prabhupada writes there very nicely. He says, supposing there is an expert, someone who is very expert in making something, engineer or something. Then Prabhupada said that, I want to learn from that person. So the person tells you, this is how you do, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you do is, you just follow 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have his knowledge. You don't have his experience. But your qualification is, he says, you do this, do this, do this, do this, and you are finished. So you follow the same thing he told you. If you follow that, then you have become expert also. Very nice point. He said, you may not be expert like he is, but if you follow what he tells you to do, then you also become expert. Then Prabhupada writes there, is that clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? He writes, you know. So the point is, we don't have the purity of Maharaj. We will never have the purity of Guru and Prabhupada and Parampara. But if we follow what they say, then their purity comes true. And when we preach to others, this purity goes to them. That is why you find devotees who are pure in following Guru, they are always inspiring. When you are in their sadhu sangha, you feel very inspired, isn't it? You feel, I want more and more sadhu sangha. I feel if I'm with this devotee, I'm safe. When you meet such devotees, you know that they are following Guru. Because purity is the force. That's why Maharaj said, in our society, purity doesn't mean I'm Gunda, you have to listen to me, otherwise you're out. That is not purity. Purity means that just by your actions, people want to follow you. Just by your behavior, people say, I want to change my life. Just by Prabhupada's behavior, people dropped everything and joined Prabhupada. Just by Maharaj's behavior, we decided, never mind, we will give up everything and we will follow Maharaj. This is purity. Purity equals to authority. Authority comes from purity. Very important. The source of authority is purity. And once you have purity, automatically without separate endeavor, Maharaj said, you will have purity. This is very nice point. Very nice point. So this is what we should do. And last point in the purport that is nicely stated is, Suta Goswami was speaking to the sages from Naimisharanya. And they were all hearing him. So some people may forget that actually in Bhagavatam, there is a reason why the Naimisharanya sages hear Suta Goswami. In the first canto, first chapter, 8th verse, all the sages in Naimisharanya, they are telling Suta Goswami why they are following you, isn't it? They say, Vetatvam Saumya Tat Sarvam. Saumya means pure. Pure. Vetatvam Sarvam. No, Saumya Tat Sarvam. This is the nature of Suta Goswami. This name Saumya we hear very often. Saumya actually means pure. Then they say very nicely, Tadvatas Tat Anugraha. Anugraha means to follow. And Tadva. He is following the Tadva, so they are following him. Very nice. This Anugraha refers to two things, Maharaj said. It refers to Suta Goswami following his Guru, and it refers to the Naimisharanya sages following Suta Goswami. So Anugraha never is for one. It is always for two parties. The perfect disciple becomes the most qualified spiritual master. And the most qualified spiritual master is always the best disciple. So Anugraha is always two, always two. That is why it is used only one time in the verse, but Maharaj said it means for two people. And then the word that is used here is Bruyuho. Bruyuho means gentle. Snigdasya shiryasya. Guruvo guyam api uta. The translation is very nice. Suta Goswami, because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you. Endowment means mercy. When you take insurance, sometimes you hear the word endowment fund. Endowment fund means, you don't deserve it, but it is endowed on you. You take it anyway. So Maharaj said, mercy means you don't deserve. You don't deserve, but mercy is coming. So the spiritual masters endow us with great gifts. And the only thing they ask is that we should be submissive. And the other quality that is very nice is, they gave you all the favors. Why? Because you are a gentle disciple. Gentle. This is very important. Maharaj always placed great emphasis on gentleness. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said, a devotee is gentleman. Gentleman, that means he's gentle. Gentleman doesn't mean, he's Gunda. Also G, but this is gentleman. Gentleman means we are not harsh. We may have to be firm, but we are never harsh. And we never lose when we give in. Bhishmadev gave in so much, isn't it? He gave up his vow just to give in to Shantanu. Then he gave his vow because Lilavati had to get married. And the fisherman father said, you have to give up all this. Imagine, like he had property. He had the kingdom. But he promised, I will not get married so that your daughters, sons and whoever will also become king. See how much he gave. Maharaj said by giving he did not lose. In material way of looking, he gave up everything. He looked like he lost. But in the end, when he was on the battlefield with the arrows, he was the only one alive. All the Kauravas were dead. And he was alive. And not only was he alive, Maharaj said, he chose the time when he was going to go. Who can choose his time? Except Vishnu. He chose his time. He waited for the time to pass, isn't it? And then he moved. So therefore, being gentle doesn't mean we are losing. Being gentle means we are actually winning. Because those who are gentle, Krishna's favor is always on them. Demons are always very gunda. You see in Bhagavatam, all the demons are gundas. Any devotee in Bhagavatam is a gunda. You see from 1st canto to 12th canto, no devotee in Bhagavatam behaves like gunda. No. But Maharaj in ISKCON, every president is gunda. Yet in Bhagavatam, every devotee is not gunda. But something is wrong, isn't it? What are we doing? Are we demonic or are we divine? Which quality we want? Being firm and gentle is the royal road to perfection. This is the way we become. And Prabhupada writes very nicely here, just because you are Brahmana does not mean that you are devotee. Dvija is newborn, twice born. But Prabhupada makes one last point at the end, Merely to be twice born is not perfection. Doesn't mean we are now second initiation, we are perfect. Many Brahmanas are not happy, Prabhus. Many Brahmanas are not satisfied. But Prabhupada writes here, perfection is attained when one hears the pastimes and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. There is one verse, you've tried to find, I know it's not in Bhagavatam, but I've heard, it is quoted by Prabhupada. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jatihi Shastram Japastapaha Apranasya Dehasya Mandanam Loka Ranjanam. It is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, CC. But the meaning is nice. Hina, Bhagavad Bhakti Hina. That means Hina means no, without. That means, very nicely, you may be great in Shastras, you may have a lot of qualification, you may have taken good birth in a high Brahmana family, you have knowledge, you have perfection of austerity, you know all the Vedas, but Shastras tell us that without Bhagavad Bhakti, then this body is just, this whole life is like a decoration of the dead body. Decoration of dead body. Maharaj said, dead body looks very nice when you decorate it. When people die, you put coat, tie, everything, they look very nice. But it is dead. What's the point? Very often Maharaj said, the person who dresses very nicely when he's dead, they dress him up this way because in his lifetime he never dressed up this way. That's why at least in death they should put something on him. Because lifetime he never wore these things. Nobody treated him nicely in lifetime. So after dying they say, never mind, now we treat him very nicely. But what's the point? He's dead. This is decoration of dead body. So having Brahmana thread, dhoti kurta, sitting down with nice japa beads, saffron color, doesn't mean I'm happy. Doesn't mean I'm happy. But if I'm hearing from bona fide source, relishing Bhagavatam and then repeating it in sadhu sangha, then I'm happy. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Shla Prabhupada ki, Jai Shla Guru Maharaj ki, Jai Gaur Prem. Some comments, some nice realizations. Vaishnav Seva Prabhu, you only pointed out the verse, you told me to go through the verse.
Nice verse.
Very nice verse. Beautiful verse. Anybody has any points, questions, doubts? So we stop now. Now what happens, Prabhu?
We are leaving now.
Okay. Few minutes. Okay.
They are very near.